But again, this is pushing the envelope.
I do also want to mention another thing that was working quite well for Chaos Theory is that when they were demeching Judo and keeping him alive just long enough to kill him before he remechs, that was a big part of how Chaos Theory were winning. But you could see the difference when Judo was in mech and there was a 6v6, how much further Machi were ahead. So now going into Horizon, especially with Chaos Theory attacking first, let's see if they can repeat that success, or maybe not.
Just going with triple tank here for now. So far, no one dead on the rotation, despite the spam damage from Shui. Only landing a couple of good shots here and there, nothing really accounting for too much. Now that means Chaos Theory do get the presence on the point. So far, things have gone well. They need to convert this into kills and also onto point presence.
You also got to look at Shui's damage here, already onto nearly 60% ult charge as it ticks over now. And when it gets to 100%, Chaos Theory won't have any ultimates. They might have a coalescence, but that's about the only tool they'll have.
It is basically a race against the clock, but the same is now true for Machi, as they have had to cede this ground to Chaos Theory. Charge in. Oh, D-Crown wasn't able to pop out the Fortify in time there. Now also on the back line, there's a lot of pressure being applied. Judo is already out of the picture. Shui is still in, but by the time he gets this Riptire, it might not even be enough here. If anything, he's now just kind of stuck on the wrong side of this fight. He's going to throw it out anyway. They've still got Kant in there, and they're feeling good about it, but all it's going to get is Distrain's mech. That's going to be the point for Chaos Theory and an opportunity to snowball.
And that was a twofold rather, kind of victory for Chaos Theory. On one hand, they managed to stop Kant from getting enough value as the Widowmaker. On the second hand, they managed to out-tank all the damage coming out of Shui's Junkrat. So both the large DPS players from Machi not getting enough damage into there to secure kills, and then that charge onto, I believe it was D-Crown as well that secured things.
They're rotating into some really high impact ultimates as well. Going to go all the way around the side here. Force Machi to come to them a little bit unless they don't just want to outright give up the point. Now Chaos Theory getting set up, looking for an angle with these ultimates. Now to boost in onto D-Crown, it's really one of the few tools they've got. Grab. First of all, yeah, there's the grab in. Transcendence to counter it out, but they've got a stick on rest here in spite of it. They do trade 1-for-1 with Xavier though, but now with that Transcendence out of the picture, Kiyomi is already getting low. They're trying to keep the pressure on these tanks, but it's just not quite happening for Chaos Theory. Machi, no one going down, and the respawners do ultimately come in, able to kind of weather the storm, and that was all the tools that Chaos Theory had. This is going to be a comp swap.
It certainly should be with, you know, like I said, the tools that they had. Now we're going to go into Sombra versus Sombra gameplay again, but it is going to be Kant that's going to be ahead in terms of ultimate charge here, looking to already get himself an EMP. And even in that last defense there, a clutch Transcendence from Kiyomi, stopping all the damage coming out from the Graviton Surge on the Chaos Theory side. Even that Pulse Bomb was not quite enough because of Machi getting the rest of the kills.
And now Machi are the ones rotating into the tools here. Notably, I mean, we go back to this quite a lot, but the EMP, right? When you've got an EMP, sometimes you honestly don't even need anything else. So it's going to be on Chaos Theory. Oh, man, that is so rough. I was going to say it's going to be on Chaos Theory to pressure Machi and force ultimates out, but Ambition's already dead.
Right now, they can actually play this fight 6v5 without even using EMP if they'd like to. Ambition, nowhere to be found. Chaos Theory are kind of caught in this weird position. If Machi pounces them right now, they can win this fight, but there's a lot of respect being given as well.
And you can also see Shui is just kind of waiting for Ambition to try and rejoin the team. So Ambition, he has steered clear of that 1v1 as he rejoins. And actually now Chaos Theory have an opening. Once again though, it's an opening where they are just looking to get tools out of Machi. They have sort of withstood this EMP, but losing Zest here, yeah, will seal the deal on it. It's eventually, sleep as well is so great. And yeah, exactly what Machi were after.
And Chaos Theory, you sort of mentioned looking to get tools out of Machi Esports. They're going to get two tools, but it's going to be two reasonably quick charging tools as well. One of them specifically going to be the Pulse Bomb that Shui can get back almost immediately for the next fight. Kant, you're probably going to have to wait another fight over, but for this next defense, Machi have 4 other ultimates to at least wait for Kant to recharge.
That being said, there is the EMP for Ambition, and as we say, sometimes you can have all your ultimates, but if the enemy team is EMP, it's kind of like having no ultimates. If it lands well, that's going to be the real tell for Ambition, because he has struggled to commit and land as well. But on the tanks, that's what they're after. Yeah, Kiyomi and too late to save Judo at least. But now D-Crown, he's going to stay topped off. He's still got the Primal Rage as well. This self-destruct from from Distrain does need to convert. Zest has converted kills in his own right, but there we go. Shui starting to open up on these backlines, and Xavier too late to save Jokebot. Chaos Theory, they have drawn out those extra ultimates from Machi, but at the cost of their own, unfortunately. And it's not like they've got time on the point either. They haven't even picked up a third in any of these fights.
And that's the problem, right? Because not only are they not getting any distance in terms of objective, but they can't out-rotate Machi right now. They got more ultimates, but they're not getting enough crucial ultimates, like you sort of mentioned as well. They're spending their own, so they're not profiting. They're not able to get an advantage over Machi that they need to win. Now, look also at the fact that Kant didn't have to use an EMP in the last fight. If he did, Machi would be lacking a win condition for the next defense, but now the EMP, when it lands, will charge the rest of Machi's ultimates.
Can's just keeping pressure on these flanks here as well, trying to make it so that neither Ambition nor GNX can get an angle around the fight, but a little bit too deep there is Shui. The EMP coming in, though, out of Kant. This is a tool that Chaos Theory needed to get out of Machi. They've also, I believe, got the self-destruct from Judo. Actually, no, didn't commit that one. I think that's quite an astute call from Judo, actually, but it may be one that blows up in their face. Chaos Theory are ahead in this fight, and they do have some respawners about to make their way in. It's Machi who are kind of in panic mode. Yeah, one tick so far. This is what Chaos Theory have been lacking so far, and they start off behind. Where's Machi? Ooh, only just getting onto the point is D-Crown. The self-destruct from Judo. Gonna get lasted out. They need to pop D-Crown here. Kiyomi can't save Restia. They have got a little bit of presence. It is now effectively a 5 versus 5 on the point itself. But the EMP and the self-destruct, again, starting to slide at the way of Chaos Theory. They should be able to finish off Judo here, and unless Kant and Shui absolutely pop off like microwave popcorn, it's looking like Chaos Theory are finally going to get that over the line.
That was a big mistake by Machi for, like you sort of mentioned, when Judo decided not to use the self-destruct. You said quite astute, but that ended up being the big mistake.
Yeah.
That was what ended up costing Machi, because they thought they could win it without the ultimates. They thought they could be conservative. They were looking towards the future. Now I can commend that and say, you want to be working towards your future planning. How are you going to win the future fights?
Yeah.
You will also not get those future fights if you do not win the current ones. So for Machi, you gotta make sure you secure the fight as it is.
And that's the thing, I almost can't blame Machi for it, purely because up until that point, it had been cheap fights and future planning and being conservative with ultimates that had allowed them to put Chaos Theory in such a tight spot. But like you said, that was a bit of a misidentification by Machi there to not recognize that that was a fight where they needed to commit the things that they had held on to by being conservative earlier.
And it's not so much this was a fight that you absolutely need to commit because you need to commit. It's more so a fight where you need to identify you're actually starting to lose here. By the way, a couple of Bazaar members waiting for the next match. Hanging out with the One-Shine members, actually.
Yeah.
Fun there. But it is, again, for Machi, a fight where they need to identify. It's not so much on paper, we are exactly required to use these ultimates, but rather, look, we're actually losing too many members here. Too many members are dying. We're not getting any trades. It's time to go into damage control. It's time to secure the defense.
Now it is going to be Chaos Theory on their own defense. First of all, they can draw more time off the clock from Machi on point A. Because Chaos Theory did have a relatively clean push through A. Then they could be well poised to fully hold out Machi on B. That's got to be the game plan. They do also have a bit of leeway in time bank as well. So Chaos Theory, this is a winning position for them.
And 148 is not an entirely bad time either. A lot of teams will, if they are going to go all the way into the overtime or very close to the overtime. This trap, I believe, it got killed pretty quickly as well. So
but it reveals the direction they're coming from. Not that that helps too much.
Well, it doesn't reveal how many are coming that way because it could have just been one member killing that trap as well. So Chaos Theory limited information that they're now having to use for this defense.
I think they might know that it's at least 2, just because you do get to see who killed your stuff. But at any rate, Chaos Theory looking for the angles on the defense. Weren't really able to challenge Machi on the rotation, at least not so far. Machi having a relatively smooth run towards the point.
Chaos Theory kind of being taken on a bit of a ride here as they're struggling to find out exactly which approach Machi are looking for. They know now, but GNX is caught. He can't get into a better position, and he needs to be in a better position to make this Widow damage count.
Yeah, by the time he gets into one, it's going to be a bit late for this team. Distrain super, super low. They've popped Shui, though. That's a good trade for them because Ambition did die early. This buys some time to get back. They're able to keep Distrain just barely topped off during that fight. they actually stabilize.
However, Kant does have an EMP now. That's an EMP off 1 attack attempt as well. You didn't need 2 attempts for that one. That means Machi gets to walk in here with the win condition, a clear one to immediately counter out anything Chaos Theory want to do. Now GNX finally with the infra sight has it at the right time, but doesn't spawn.
Yeah, a little bit too late to predict that one, but the conversion has not quite been there for Machi. Oh, they popped Ambition. Only the 1 trade back. They didn't quite get the closeout on those low members. GNX is going to make them fight and work hard for it, but they are going to go down. It will be a point grab for Machi despite the trades back. And it's so unfortunate that Ambition died. The Rip Tire could have secured an additional defense with how long it took Machi to convert off that EMP.
You can see the calm manner in which Machi played that attack, right? The very opening attack. They backed out when they realized, okay, we got the win condition. We've charged the EMP. No one else needs to die. We just walk away for free. That's what they did. They didn't give Chaos 3 very many ultimate charges to work with themselves. So Machi get a free ulti.
Oh dear, a bit too early on that one, only getting Judo low. They do pop the D-Mech, and they can kill him with the concussion mine. Oh, just barely clearing out from that self-destruct. They should just force a retreat out of Machi here. Yeah, Machi know that they have to back off from this, but they don't mind. They're playing for the EMP here.
And this is an upgrade for Judo as well in very similar scenarios on Hollywood. He was caught out in make many times, trying to remake this time around. Gets the mercy killing from opponent Ambition, who just flaps him straight back to the respawn room. He'll take it. Machi, they'll take the EMP.
And Chaos Theory are the ones lean on tools here. Only really the Valkyrie. Ambition late swap up onto this Sombra as well. So that's a good catch though onto Kiyomi. Does again just stall up Machi. Restia as well. Not sure what went wrong there for Machi because you saw where Restia died compared to where the rest of the team was. That's a bit of a boo-boo for Machi. This gives Chaos Theory a lot of space to charge up ultimates.
And that's a problem, right? Because Machi had and still currently do have a pretty big advantage, but there's a difference between having an advantage when the opponent team doesn't have any of their own, when they don't have anything to use to counter you, and a difference between you having some ultimates, but them also having some in the bank too.
A little bit rough. They still have that EMP though, and they are still well ahead of Ambition. So any fight could be the one. They're also about to come up. Actually, that's a lie. I was going to say full Christmas tree, but actually, that was Judo just remeching. 5 out of 6,
5 prisons and a cult.
You'll take, yeah. You'll take it. The question is, will they actually take the fight? I mean, that's what's got to count, right? And Chaos Theory are trying to get aggressive. I like this, but it hasn't worked yet. And now they're piling more and more resources into this situation. At least they're fighting off the point.
Now.
But there's the EMP. Yeah, big commit indeed. But now this actually means Machi have to convert because Chaos Theory can start to fall back on the respawn advantage. They have popped Distrain's mech. They have killed Ambition, but Distrain's going to be able to remech. They haven't got the landslide victory they needed just yet. They get a tick on the point, maybe able to get a second here. Distrain should be able to self-destruct. No, he was hacked. Beautiful placement there. Great timing from Kant with that right click, and now Chaos Theory heavily back-footed. They're not even getting members out of the spawn gates onto the point. It's looking like this is going to be the one here for Machi unless something huge comes out for Chaos Theory. Ambition is trying. EMP can't come out,
to use it.
but no one's going to be able to follow up. He's waiting for someone to come out the gate, but there's no one there. Again, Distrain hacked with the right click and cannot use the self-destruct for now the second time in a row. 3 minutes 27 to 1 minute 48. Machi looking way more comfortable coming into the time bank.
And the planning coming into execution again for Machi Esports. You saw how it happened onto A. You see how it happens onto B. Again, they get their 6 ultimates. They get a big string of ultimates. Something that Chaos Theory on their own attack for B did not unfortunately do. Chaos Theory won their B attack because Machi, they let it slip. They decided not to pull the trigger on certain ultimates on that defense this time around, though. The opposite happening. It's Machi setting up very secure win conditions, a huge string of ultimates that Chaos Theory cannot counter. They're trying to come back from respawn. They're trying to utilize, like you mentioned, the respawn advantage, but there are times when even the respawn advantage is not enough.
It's identifying that win condition, playing to it, being prepared for it. And really, it's just good play by Machi. There's no two ways about that side of things. And actually, one thing that was the same both on the attack and defense for Machi was they were generally always ahead in that ultimate economy, which is really significant. I mean, it was significant for Chaos Theory to get the attack through despite always being behind on that economy. It shows an amount of skill and execution in that particular fight, but it also means they were permanently on the back foot when defending against Machi. It kind of felt like it was only a matter of time.
Not without hiccups on Machi's side, though. We do also remember that one string of couple of deaths where they lost Kiyomi very quickly. That snowballed onto another member, but Machi recovered very quickly after that as well. So going into time back, Chaos Theory with the lesser time have to attack first. This is very important for them.
Oh, that's a great bio grenade charged right up from Judo. They've just barely weathered that storm. That was really dangerous for Chaos Theory.
They're not out of the frying pan yet. In fact, they're about to jump into the fire. Machi have repositioned, but this time can't get a good angle, and can Shui get the damage done? That was what was missing on their last A defense.
And that's the thing, Chaos Theory, despite that great bio grenade landing on so many members, they've got the same thing that they got last time, at least up until this point. Now it's on Machi to respond better, and also on Chaos Theory to execute even better in their own right, kind of stay ahead of that arms race. And so far, oh, D-Crown's the first pick. It's the early coalescence from Jokebot that really ramps up the pressure for Machi. They're getting aggressive. This is going to be a wipe.
And Chaos Theory, once again, just barreling through the damage, and it's not even without the damage coming through, it's the fact that they being Machi in this case, not able to secure kills. Look at Kent, he had the Infrasight. Look at Shui, he does have the Riptide, but where are the kills? They have damage, but they do not have that.
And now this is where Chaos Theory weren't quite able to get the snowball going last time. Again, they just want to execute a little bit better. Win in that arms race this time around. That Riptide could change the tune of all that, trying to weave it into the middle. Only gets Ambition, but that is big. Takes the grab off the table. GNX down as well. And again, this is the sort of fight that's not even happening on the point. They're not getting progress from this. They do just need to reset. They're recognizing that, and they are retreating, but this is where the dive from Machi pays off. They should be able to stagger out Chaos Theory here.
And that's a big point for Chaos Theory as well, because getting staggered here would really affect how they regroup rather for their next push. The final push, less than 30 seconds now. They have ultimates, but they need to strain back into the mech, and on top of that, they need to make sure they can execute ultimates properly. We've seen Ambition's grab, but last time it was countered out by Kiyomi's Transcendence. The same Transcendence he now has.
Okay, they can take a breath. They've got this train back in the mech. Kant also does not quite have that EMP. Will be coming up during this fight, and they've got other tools to stall until then, but again, execution is king here.
Ooh,
it could just be that Chaos Theory go big on this D-Crown in deep Ambition. Not quite the conversion they need. And again, not fighting on the point. EMP's out. Zest already dead. Ambition to follow. The only trade back is Can, and GNX corner trapped. That's going to be a style point Transcendence there out of Kiyomi. That's the last hurrah for Chaos Theory. They got the point A cap though. It is unfortunate to not get any progress on B, just because that does increase the pressure. Machi though, they in their own right need to at least get a third on B to stop this from just being a draw.
I do want to talk a little bit about what happened to Chaos Theory there. You note that that Ambition did use a Graviton Surge, but where was that Graviton Surge? Did Judo perhaps eat it up with the Matrix? Because at the end, we didn't even get to see the Transcendence until Machi had basically secured that defense anyway. If Judo did eat that Graviton Surge, that is a big blunder, unfortunately, from Chaos Theory, who were already on the back foot on that attack, having waited for respawns, having waited for Distrain even to remake. Not enough time to get a second fight in.
And they did have that brief window where Kant didn't have that EMP, but yeah, like you said, either the grab got eaten or it landed somewhere so ineffectual it may as well have been. And that's unfortunate. That's the second time that grab hasn't quite worked out for Chaos Theory, and I mean, that's part of the snowball, right? It's one of those things, like the composition isn't great for attacking B, but if the ults can land, then it's the best comp ever.
One thing Chaos Theory did do, and you sort of mentioned this already, but taking A already is very important. They had 1 minute 40 something seconds even for that attack. A lot of teams have failed in more than 1 minute 40 seconds, so the fact that Chaos Theory have kind of nailed down the same attack, kind of barreling through Machi's defense there. Once again, Machi couldn't secure kills. That's a big thing to play with Machi. They still got to get this A point. 327 is technically less time that you would normally start with. There's a very real possibility this goes to a draw.
Xavier and Jokebot need a swap just so that these are perfectly the same. They are running the exact same team comp, which is interesting because this is the first time we're seeing this exact setup. Oh dear.
But one is so much better.
Already sour with the dive in. They do pop Judo's mech though, so aside from losing Ambition, things did go okay. Oh, less so now with Jokebot going down. Shui wants to keep on the pressure, and rightfully so. They've got Savior. They're going to power down Zest as well. This is going to be a point cap for Machi.
Let's rewind ever so slightly back to the first time we saw Machi attack. First time they attacked A specifically. They got EMP after one push. They played it very calculated. This time around, it was Chaos 3 wanting to change the tempo. They wanted to jump on, disrupt that attack, and they paid for that as well. Mission dying so soon.
GNX wants to stall, but he got spotted out a fraction of a second before by Judo. Kind of sniffed that one out, and that just means he dies super late.
He will respawn in time, so what he did buy is time for his other 5 members to get back into the fight. With the kill into Kent as well, this ensures that Machi cannot directly snowball. And I guess they couldn't directly snowball anyway because they don't currently have the ultimate, but they will very soon. Importantly, Kant has an ultimate over Ambition, and they only need 1/3.
Xavier and Jokebot have swapped. That's a little bit rough for them. I mean, again, we're seeing this position where Chaos Theory are behind in the macro game by their own hand. Oh, Machi on the point. Where are Chaos Theory? They need to be contesting this. They're already behind the 8 ball. GNX does get Judo and Restia, which is a very high value pull with the Pulse Bomb. D-Crown as well down. They recognized that without that tank presence, they weren't going to get that fight. That was nearly very dangerous for Chaos Theory.
But it was testing grounds for Machi as well, dipping their feet into the water, checking for the temperature, and now it's hot enough for them to really get in there. And it's hot because they have that EMP, but also because Chaos Theory got good enough trades on their own defense, they're able to get some ultimates, importantly, the EMP as well. Now we're back to the sort of EMP chicken fight, where both people want the chicken.
Ambition, for the first time, is going to get the better of the two, and that one can't yet to respond, and already teammates going down. This means Machi want to hold on to that ultimate now. This isn't going to be the fight, but that's the kind of thing Chaos Theory need. It's going to be a bit trickier next time around, but if they can get another low economy fight, they should be able to shut out Machi here. Machi don't have too much time at their disposal.
But they did have enough time to do that, which is specifically to get some ultimates, important ultimates like the EMP, out of Chaos Theory. This is something that Chaos Theory did not have because they only started with 140. Now Machi, with 340 or 320, they have that time to play with, and they're banking it up now.
What Chaos Theory have, though, they don't have the EMP. They're going to have every other ultimate. So again, execution is king here. Machi pushing the go button first. They are just hovering that EMP threatening over Chaos Theory's head. This train needs to self-destruct. They've already pulled out these crucial ultimates before the EMP came out. This train as well was not able to self-destruct. Perhaps was hacked once again. Zest has already used the Primal Rage. He cannot use it to stall from this point on. Kant still holding that EMP over the head, finally committing it in just to wipe the last few members of Chaos Theory. And unless this train gets a huge pulse bomb, self-destruct, at any rate doesn't get it, that's Machi getting the point there. And wow, so much value they got before they even committed the EMP. It almost felt a bit like itchy fingers for Chaos Theory.
And that was a reasonably risky play coming out from Machi as well. They could very easily not work, and had it not worked, we would have been critical of that and said, why did they not pull the trigger? But this is what happens when it does work, and we get to say instead, they were so good at utilizing the other ultimates that the EMP was used to secure the cap and not to enter the cap.
And now this is where I kind of have to shift gears on the narrative here, because the last 2 matches have been close, but also Machi have been enough of a margin ahead in every circumstance that they now have this at match point. There's this point where we can look at this and go, look, this is great for Chaos Theory, kudos to the performance and everything, and I'm excited that this is such a close matchup, but there is something they are lacking that's getting them over the edge here against Machi. Macro currently is one part of that, but on the whole, this is why Machi have made playoffs and Chaos Theory haven't, improvements of the latter notwithstanding.
And you see the consistency there in the macro from Machi as well. The way they approach both A and the B attacks, how they set up for it, what kind of win conditions they're looking for, and they're the complete opposite for Chaos, kind of, you know, making sense. Their name, it has the word Chaos in it. They're sort of walking in at disadvantage, and they're not able to get ahead of Machi, who defensively or specifically on B, were always keeping themselves ahead, always had something into the back pocket, and almost held that fully, but kind of let it go in the last seconds because they were just a little bit too conservative. That is where Chaos Theory can come and really punish Machi, but so far they've only punished Machi once for it.
Exactly, and you just want to see that, I mean, in itself happening a little bit more often. You also want to see, I mean, the fact that they've had such a competitive series, even with some issues in the macro game, you want to see them matching that macro. This almost feels like it could be the better team of the two. Maybe that's something that comes in the future, though. Next map coming up, once again, Chaos Theory's pick. They are going to take us to Junkertown. And I'm trying to recall... I think we've predominantly seen them on Dorado. We've seen a bit of them on Junkertown. But at any rate, to go back to this notion of, you know, add in that extra bit of alt rotation in the economy and all that, I mean, that plus just what they're able to pull off individually half of the time. And that's to say nothing of the team coordination as well, by the way. This is a team with a really high ceiling.
It certainly is, but will they realize that in one map's time, or will they realize that in time for another season of Contenders? Because right now, all of the qualities you're describing that Chaos Theory could be looking at having, Machi currently have, at least in this matchup against Chaos Theory. That's the real dangerous thing as we're looking at match point, as we're looking at a potential 3-1 scoreline.
And of course, it's the thing that Machi have had over Chaos Theory throughout the season thus far. That, once again, is why they are the team of these two that have qualified. However, to readdress this notion of having a strong send-off before hitting trials once again, this is good. This is good for Chaos Theory because it is very clear what needs to be worked on. And in spite of those things being a factor, they are pulling out a very competitive performance. I think at this point, regardless as to how Junkertown goes, unless something goes horribly, horribly wrong, they should actually feel pretty confident. Certainly, I feel pretty confident that we are going to see this team again.
But into Junkertown, Chaos Theory, for one, this is not going to be a map where Ambition can go farther. So already be missing out on that kind of action. It is going to be Chaos Theory, though, somewhat being forced onto similar compositions that Machi have run a lot. So Chaos Theory, we haven't seen too much Orisa Hog out of them in this particular series. Seen a lot of it from Machi so far.
Oh, man. Ambition was positioned really far forward and risked going down to a scatter arrow. Instead went down to a 5-ball from Kiyomi. Headshotted that for good measure. Rez here onto Judo as well. Unfortunately, Ambition was too far forward for Xavier to be able to res him up, so they've just had to cede ground for now.
This is also Machi choosing to attack first, by the way, as well. Also, by the way, we've seen a lot of Widow duels in this matchup. We've seen Kent versus both GNX and Ambition. So far, he's had a pretty decent run. GNX had a pretty good run himself. Hook disconnected. Ooh, Judo not going to pick that one up.
And this is the point where Chaos Theory have to start making their stand. They have got Ambition back.
That hook connects.
Yeah, that's a good one. And they're coming up on a Riptire, which at this point they might not even need. Ambition is a little bit low, though. That's a good catch from the side. And unfortunately, Kant not quite getting all the shots he's been needing, no matter how low Chaos Theory have got. They have stopped that Machi for now.
Sadly, he didn't pick one up on the GNX as well. Took GNX down to about a sliver of HP. Kant had about 3 headshots in a row, but none of them that can actually secure Machi some sort of player advantage moving in, and they need to get rid of Ambition because he does have a tire and this could be very deadly.
Yeah, they're trying to keep tabs on him. They do know where he's gone off to. They should be ready-ish for this tire. Oh, pulling the trigger just a touch too late. D-Crown is able to kill it before it's able to get it on the back line. But, I mean, the tire isn't the be-all, end-all. They get a headshot on Kant. Trez is just fratricide here. These members killing their counterparts on the enemy team, but that does take a whole hog out of the table for Jokebot. Judo committing his own. They're forcing Chaos Theory back. No kills just yet, but Chaos Theory also have yet to really give many answers in this situation.
No kills yet, but because it's even trades, Machi get the better respawns here. You got to think eventually they come in with more members than Chaos Theory can have on the defense, and right now, with the cart moving on through, it would certainly suggest that.
GNX also had to wrap around and reposition. Oh, still goes down to Kant, who kind of knew it was coming. Shui already looking to get on the back line with a blade here. As that ultimate, the whole hog was coming out from Jokebot. That is, that's the Genshui.
And against tanks as well, usually the Dragon Blade has a lot of trouble slashing down tanks, but for Shui specifically, I mean, even that kill on the GNX, he's looking for more. And if he finds any more, spots out a trap, yeah, that counts.
Even just deflects a grenade for good measure. And this is Machi taking this forward positioning because they can right now.
Chaos Theory, they need to find another defensive positioning when they can, and you sort of mentioned it, Machi being forward right now. This is where Chaos Theory want to be on their own defense. Reasonably good at forcing Machi backwards though, but look at cart position. It's already in a pretty favorable place for where Machi wanted to be.
This is dangerous for Ambition. trying to deal with Shui. Oh, aerial on the concussion mine. That's pretty big out of them. Also finishes us off this charging of the tire. This is where Chaos Theory can realistically make a stand. In fact, they've kind of already done so, killing Judo, flags a full retreat from Machi. Now Chaos Theory are just trying to get trickle kills.
We're also seeing GNX get the better of Kant in most of these duels as well. He's been reasonably consistent in killing him. I wonder if that's going to force Kant to swap compositions or swap heroes at some point into this attack, but for Machi, some other members have already decided to swap.
And I think that's interesting. I like that they're keeping Shui on this Genji. I mean, he's a great Genji in the first place. Dragon Blade, always nice as well. He's nearly coming up on that. But again, Chaos Theory, they do have good defensive ultimates to rotate through here. Still uphill for Machi.
It's time from Ambition. We need to see maybe another kill.
Yeah, Judo's going to get demeched off that. That's a little bit rough, and Ambition was able to stay alive. Nearly got spotted out. A little bit dicey, but they're ahead in the fight, crucially. Rez on GNX as well. And once again, there wasn't even a huge value Riptire, but it was just enough to tip the balance. This is Machi.
Machi are going to go back in. They have Transcendence. They got the kill into Ambition. And that kind of just signals Machi to go directly onto that back line.
They got the Blade as well. They can close this one out instead of going into retreat, which is what I think Chaos Theory were expecting. Machi realized they still had ultimates they could convert off. They kind of took Chaos Theory by surprise there.
Chaos Theory, well, the surprise has been pretty detrimental to that defense. They didn't expect the turnaround from Kiyomi specifically. They just lost one member because Ambition went down. That was enough for Machi to say, yes, we can win this fight. And them saying, yes, we can win this fight means, yes, they can cap that point.
And that's so unfortunate. They just got themselves into a position where they could maybe start cycling through some ultimates on the defense, but not quite closing out the fight ended up costing them. They expected the retreat rather than ensuring it happened.
Machi already in aggressively on this attack, making sure that Chaos Theory cannot set up an early defense. Ambition wanting to go in, easily punish, and Zest might follow him if he's not careful.
Judo can self-destruct here as well to preserve the mech. They're not able to kill him while he's remeching. Brescia working double time here, but it is paying off. They're getting the kills through. This keeps the momentum. D-Crown does die with the Primal Rage available. May have been hacked out there. Chaos Theory, they're at least stopping up the cart at this juncture, starting to trade a little bit evenly, which does favor them in the long run, but they're also losing a lot of members, so they may just end up giving up further cart distance before their own respawners come in.
They're also using ultimates here, though. Pulse Bomb thrown out by GNX, so the Supercharger by Distrain before he changes onto a Diva. You can respect that Chaos Theory probably wanted to change heroes here anyway, so going for an all-in defense aggressively on top of Machi is absolutely correct, but now they need time to farm up these new ultimates on these new heroes.
I mean, they're the defenders, right? Like, you don't want to be behind the momentum game with the ultimates because you're the one giving up cart distance while that's happening. You've got to at least be fighting on the cart, but Shui's making it hard for them to do that. Now straight onto the back line, GNX has already kind of pulled the rug out from underneath him, but Machi are confident in the Dragon Blade, and that forces more ultimates out of Chaos Theory, who are starting to come away ahead in the fight, really off the back of Zest and GNX there. But that was Machi, I think, rightfully so, committing further into the fight. It was always pressure on Chaos Theory.
Well, they wanted to see if they can maybe win it there with the Dragon Blade and swing things around, but unfortunately, only getting 2 kills is even to the trades that GNX already got himself, which was 2 kills. And in a scenario like this, on to see Chaos Theory respawn much quicker. They reinforce much quicker back onto the cart as well. Machi on the back foot.
Quick commit out of Ambition. I like it. Not quite able to get the kill on Kant though, and that means Kiyomi able to start stabilizing here with this Transcendence. Restia pressure, they need to finish him off. Self-destruct from Judo. Not quite able to get the conversion as this Train, who's instead able to get the work done there. Shui as well going down, and it seems that Chaos Theory kind of weathered that storm a little bit. Didn't quite get the early conversion that they needed and forced some tools out of Machi as well, which is pretty nice, but not cheap for them either.
We are also under 1 minute now for Machi's attack. Here, they're about to rotate into an EMP. The cart is roughly halfway through the C-bend right now, and perhaps with one good EMP, they can finish the map. But Chaos Theory, they've been very aggressive. Chaos Theory do not want Machi to touch the cart.
Oh man, they knew it was coming. It was detected a fraction of a second before, which means he instantly translocates out. In that time, Judo gets demech. They don't have as many members to convert on the EMP. They're still keeping the pressure on though, and no one's quite finished off D-Crown. Self-destruct from Distrain creates a good amount of space though. Machi have to just wait and readdress this fight.
10 seconds remaining though, they're not going to have too much time to readdress this. They don't even really have time to wait for Kant to respawn. They already used the EMP. They need another tool to get on top of the cart.
Shui, no! Oh, he threw the pulse bomb in, but goes down to distrain. This isn't extra distance on the card at this point. They're just getting it back to what had been its previous maximum because of the rollback, as Chaos Theory already well ahead in the fight ambition as well. Looking to use that EMP as like a finisher at this point, and maybe one that they don't even need. Throws it in for good measure, and that's going to be all she wrote for these last few members. Judo does get a self-destruct. It gets a little bit more presence on the point, but again, they're only just getting back to what had been their previous best distance. They're still losing the fight. Chaos Theory are still getting the kills. No one has quite finished off these tanks, only just getting zest, but it's too late for Machi. 70-70. That's what Chaos Theory need to beat.
And this time around, Machi, they were really struggling at the end. When we've seen them on the other maps, including Hollywood, including Horizon Lunar Colony, when we get to the final stage of the game, as the time is about to run out, you could still see within their plays, they have some plans. They know what they need to do to win. This time around, it's a very different case. We're seeing the opposite of Machi. When they're pressured, when they're out of time, they start to make some mistakes. Cat using an EMP at a time, unfortunately, wasn't going to really pay off for Machi. He didn't have a choice, so they were running out of time, and we see what happens when Machi cannot execute. Very different to the Machi that we saw on maps like Horizon, where Cat decided not to use the EMP until the last moment. This time, has to use it straight away.
Junkertown is one of those maps as well, where the difference between capping and not capping, I think, is at its most pronounced. I mean, numerically, it's no different to any other map. You know, you cap, you get time bank. You don't cap, you don't. But with the way it kind of ends up going, a lot of the overtime fights that can push things through, I mean, so often we really do see stopping the cap being all the difference for what eventually becomes the winning team. And again, you've got to believe that Chaos Theory, with how they've been able to play so far, even if it happens in overtime, they can really do this. This is so achievable.
We also have to think about right now, how do teams finish the map onto Junkertown? Because that Junkertown C is one of, if not the hardest point to cap in the entire game. I'm not going to include Blizzard World into this discussion just yet, but currently on this patch without Blizzard World, we do have a Junkertown where you need a lot of momentum into that C point to really cap it out through. Most teams that we've seen cap out Junkertown fully, whether that's with time remaining or not, has had a lot of snowball pressure going through from the beginning to C all the way to the end. Chaos Theory, can they be conservative enough? Do they have a good enough plan to execute to make that happen?
I'm actually going to be pulling out their own junk right here on the defense. Just trying to go a little bit low. Chaos Theory, pirate shipping. What a classic.
Wishing, hoping for the smooth sailing right now.
Oh, didn't quite get the scatter arrow kill onto Rescue, and Saviour's dead as well. Ambition, yeah, on the wrong end of that one.
That's going to put a stop to things reasonably quickly there for Chaos Theory as well. Note that they're already not into the cart. They're getting kills, so this is very important. Getting traded, unfortunately.
Yeah, Judo just barely taking a breather in the nick of time. They do get to res Zest, though. So this actually still keeps some momentum. Hook, Chaos Theory, great hook. Onto Judo as well, while that take a breather was also on cooldown and no healers in sight for him. This is now the momentum Chaos Theory need.
Oh, just navigating through some rocky shores there, but it's now back to open seas for Chaos Theory. Machi Esports need to find another defense here. They've been caught by a lot of these combos, and even this combo, you normally wait for the hold and hook, but you don't expect the hold and the scatter arrow.
Yeah, hold, scatter arrow, plus just the spam damage. Oh man, Kiyomi. I mean, he's doing this because they're wanting to recommit, but Shui's already dead. Now he's not going to be able to get out of that one. That's just an extra kill, and this should be what Chaos Theory can now use to set up a very far forward defense here.
Shui changing onto the Genji as well. You know things are looking slightly dire, well, not necessarily dire, but at least you're feeling the pressure now with Chaos Theory steamrolling their way through. It's now Steam Engine Boat, if you're curious.
Yeah, Steamboat is the, what's it, Great Western Steamship Company. I think that's what it was called.
But they're still pirates.
They're still pirates, yes. One of their ships has been hijacked. What is it? It was a HMS... maybe it was the Great Britain. I can't remember. D-Crown's dead. That's what matters here. And this is Cat now, actually. Chaos Theory just continuing the momentum here. That was with Machi actually being able to respawn members in there as well. So that wasn't even that they weren't at full strength. That was just pure misexecution.
3 more members have now changed here as Cat, D-Crown, and Judah all swapping onto Dive Heroes. And for Machi, they need to aggressively apply both their support ultimates if they want to have even a chance of defending this B point for Chaos Theory, though they got some big ones into the back pocket.
Yeah, I mean, they've got that tank format of Joke Body's going to pop it straight out. The Whole Hog's already killed D-Crown, and they don't mind using these ultimates here, by the way, because they're probably just going to change off the composition. Doesn't matter how many they use. I mean, that's a fight that Machi went in almost guaranteed to lose out the gate.
The thing is, why do you need to change compositions when it's currently working? The Bastion, you do not need to get off the boat until the Bastion is killed, until you are fully stopped up. This now is that momentum that Chaos Theory need to complete the map. And you got to think they got the time to do it too.
They've got, oh man, they killed D-Crown with a scatter arrow. Now they've got a Dragon Strike still, which is a huge tool, at least for creating space. If not catching kills with the way this last point is laid out, then they get to rotate into the Supercharger. Then they've still got a Valkyrie at their disposal.
Look at the problem here for Machi as well. Kant has only just gone into the Sombra. He's not even close to the EMP. Look at the car position, how close they need to cap it all out. Machi, they need more than just one pick.
They do need it because it gets res straight back in, and Ambition, conservative with this Dragon Strike, is looking for the angle on it about now. Needs to not die here though. Maybe now's the time. Yes, there it goes out. They do have already got the kills. I think they're just going to do this. I think they just get straight on through. Machi, you're already dead. Shui, nothing with the blade. And that's the second time in a row that's been the case, and devastatingly so. Yo ho ho, and a bottle of rum, and a cap at that. It's going to tie it up 2 for 2. We're going to Oasis.
And a victory celebration for Jokebot as well. You hear the sirens horn, blow, whatever it does. Map 5 sounds about accurate right now. Chaos Theory, just when you thought maybe they're out of this one, maybe it's going to be a 3-1 to Machi. We talked about Chaos Theory having potentially not the momentum, not the snowball required to finish the C-cap. That card did not stop basically for the entire map. Chaos Theory had more momentum and more snowball than they needed.
And I mean, like I was saying, the difference in capping and not capping is so massive. I mean, even then, I feel like they could have made it all the way to the end, but that's the thing as well. Not having to go that extra little distance meant really it was only one fight on C that they needed. That is as well, by the way, the first time we've really seen Chaos Theory also pretty much unequivocally ahead in the macro game. And that was absolutely devastating. Like, just when Machi had finally pulled it back, had them at match point, they found the Northwest Passage.
And the problem is, for Machi, they didn't identify what they needed to do quickly enough. Shui changed the Genji, while 5 other members were basically still on the same tank composition. Then the other 3 changed compositions. Kent originally went onto a Tracer, did not go into the Sombra until we already got into C. And the problem is, if you're waiting for an EMP, you don't have any time to wait. The game is already over. If Cat had already swapped into a Sombra by point B, we would have seen a plethora of EMPs, and any one of them could have stopped the push.
Exactly, and that's the thing. At the point that it came out, they would have had to have won a fight and then have the EMP available, which, by the way, does mean by that point they could have started rotating through ultimates on the defense. It's not necessarily a bad thing. There's no such thing as too late on that. It's really more better late than never, but absolutely earlier should have still been the call there. On the whole, though, we now go back to Oasis, which means, or not back to, we go to Oasis, which means we go back to Control, which was also the game mode that Chaos Theory had taken initially. They are just extremely good on Nepal in general, but also Oasis has so many favorable things for them.
Especially when you look at most of the maps by university. So here talking about City Center and Gardens, those are Fara maps. Those are maps that you specifically want to be running that hero. And Ambition specifically does also want to run that hero. So that's something that kind of plays into Chaos Theory's game plan a little bit. So you got to think this is definitely within the territory for Chaos Theory to bring it home. I mean, it's a 3-2 for somebody here, but it looks like a possible 3-2 for Chaos Theory.
And here's the thing as well, no matter which way it falls, the other thing we've got to look back at, once again, this is the Machi that goes into playoffs next week, win or lose here. Now, even if they win, the 2 maps that they have lost in that case, I don't want to say it's because they played terribly and things were going super wrong or anything, but they certainly did make mistakes. Things did not go right. There were issues there. There were things that allowed Chaos Theory to get ahead, things that Chaos Theory could capitalize on. Those are things that all the teams that play Machi in playoffs are going to scour over, and unless Machi have absolutely ironclad themselves in that 1 week they have left, all those weaknesses are going to get picked to bits. It's the worst time to have a weakness exposed.
And it's also when you consider, like, part of what was going very right for Chaos Theory on that attack on Junkertown is when you consider Zest was getting such good hooks against Machi Esports. The responding hooks from the other side were not nearly as good, didn't nearly have the same pressure. When you also look at compositionally, because they ran the pirate ship with the Bastion, the hooks are so much easier to secure kills. You're hooking into a Bastion at point-blank range. Chaos Theory had that, Machi did not, and Chaos Theory absolutely used that to their advantage.
I mean, this is incredible. I don't want to say it's unprecedented because Chaos Theory had such a good performance last week. If they'd lost to Bazaar last week and then this is suddenly coming out, this would be nothing short of phenomenal. I'd be raising some real question marks over Machi. You still do have to, but I mean, let's also be completely honest. Chaos Theory are absolutely deserving the results they're getting right now. This is also just really good play out of them. And again, if we want to talk about, like we have so many times so far over the series, how do Chaos Theory look going into trials and basically getting relegated, looking to requalify? Man, they're looking in great shape, especially if they round this off with beating a playoffs team.
This would be certainly a way to exit Contenders Pacific as well, a team that's been here now for 5 weeks, maybe even more if they were revived in Taiwan a little bit earlier, and now coming into the final week, I mean, we've only ever really seen improvement from Chaos Theory moving through. Rough start, but what a fantastic finish.
Absolutely. I mean, if this turns into a win as well, you know, at that point, it's like, if this were a quarter, they would have just punched a ticket to a semi. You know, that's the kind of win that is in terms of the relative caliber of these teams where they've landed in the standings. And that is a confidence booster for Chaos Theory. It makes them go, if we'd played this way from week 1, we could have made playoffs. We could have beaten this other team that is making playoffs right now. Maybe they're a semi-finals team somewhere down the line.
And you're also looking at this as kind of feeding more into the narrative that Group A is certainly the group of death. I mean,
Yeah.
This was the Chaos Theory that came in from week 1. You got a lot of heavy hitters just in this group alone. So, I mean, the fact that they've managed to sort of survive through this group and still come out the other end with at least 1 win, now I'm looking for their second.
At any rate, it's not done just yet. They have not quite secured the win here, Chaos Theory. Neither, though, have Machi, most crucially. They're actually going to go double Farah in this situation, much like what we saw on Sanctum, and it was eventually Ambition who got the better of Shui there, but it's already the opening pick coming through the way of Chaos Theory. Pressure onto Judo as well. He's in a lot of trouble going to get DMEC'd as well, and Chaos Theory just kind of have the positioning. The wraparound can drops as well to his counterpart, maybe even looking to stagger out Kiyomi. They will get the conversion on the dive from Distrain and the point cap to boot.
And this time around, it wasn't even really the Firers that were doing most of the work
Oh,
here. Double
sick.
connect from Ambition, shuts down Shui, who now has to wait for his own life to respawn here. Machi has to wait for him to respawn. Judo already going onto the McCree. Shui now changing himself onto the Diva, so players kind of swapping up roles right now just to counter what Chaos Theory has brought to the table.
And this is evidently because they can't pull out a McCree on Shui. So this is actually Machi having to make some really significant changes just so that they can feel like they can counter out Ambition's Farah. Pulse Bomb does go wide here from GNX, but Judo's already dead on the dive. They do trade one back with GNX, but again, Chaos Theory still have the positioning in this fight, and also they still have control of the point. So until this fight makes its way to the point, it's a success for Chaos Theory. Pulse Bomb though onto Zest, maybe looking to change that tune here.
I, for one, will be forever disappointed. I can't say Mashui, but at the same time, for Machi, you need to see Judo do the work if he is going to be the one playing the McCree. And right now, that's Ambition. Currently looking to clean up, does get punished by Kiyomi.
Tunneled a touch on Kiyomi there, who was able to just duck around the corner very quickly. Then Rescue was able to do the same. Savior, the Valkyrie's run out now. He can't keep everyone alive. He's just a little bit too fresh, and Judo is finally getting some free time on the point. Yeah, you get in front of that car. That was, I mean, that's a brutal way to kill someone. It did end up being a bit costly for Machi, but they've got a lot of other ultimates they rotate into. This is now that same thing we saw in Sanctum where Chaos Theory are essentially just playing to stall it out and get more progress, but they are going to lose the point.
There's a lot of progress though, 78% for Chaos Theory. That's certainly enough that if they do cap it again, they can threaten to take away the victory. They can threaten to win this first round on Oasis, but for Machi, now finally set up. You have a Deadeye as well. You also have Ambition staying on the Pharmacy combo, looking to push directly into a McCree. That's why you don't.
As you say it, man. Oh, jeez. I mean, he was already low before he got a headshot. They do get to res him back in, but now Deadeye's going to be a factor. There's also a self-destruct to pressure them out. I mean, there's a lot of things that can really make it hard for this pair to stay in the skies right about now. Kiyomi early Transcendence, oh, they get the conversion off it. That's all they really needed. The tank's out of the picture. Chaos Theory know better than to stay in too long here. This is all just reset from them.
And Judo managed to hold on to the Deadeye as well, so Machi now looking at 42%. They're about 1 fight win away from at least equalizing with Chaos Theory, and 2 fight wins away from actually taking, or at least threatening to take the map itself. Chaos Theory need to find a response. They need to find a response specifically to Judo, because there's now so much pressure from the Machi side against that Pharmacy.
That Deadeye is the tool that can really, again, keep that pressure on. However, those other tools for Machi are not in the picture, at least right this second. So Chaos Theory going to try and take that window and run with it. Oh, Judo going down to a pulse bomb. Didn't get a chance to use that Deadeye either. This is a great fight already for Chaos Theory. And again, we talk about cheap fights. That was a sound barrier and a pulse bomb and then a point grab.
They knew exactly who they needed to kill here, and they being Chaos Theory. GNX goes into the backline, finds Judo, lands the pulse bomb stick onto him as well, shuts down any sort of response that Machi have, does not get the res in time from Rest here, and even so, if they managed to get that res, it wouldn't have been enough. Too many Machi members went down. Now time is starting to really run out. Both teams over 80%, but only one team about to hit the 99.
I don't know if Judo's been spotted here. I don't think they know that he's on this flank. Should have spotted him by now, I'm sure, but yeah, Zest will have definitely seen him. Hasn't got a great angle on the Deadeye. Oh, he's got Jokebot though. That may be just enough. Ambition's got to get big conversion right now. Or perhaps this train he's looking to get. Oh, he does get Judo. Just barely. Plus the res on Jokebot. But he will trade his own life for it. They're up Kiyomi though. Restia, a little bit untouched in the skies right now. Zest just barely staying alive throughout all of that. They do convert onto Restia. D-Crown, he can stall here. Self-destruct out of Shui to preserve the mech. D-Crown gonna pop the Primal Rage. This is now all the tools gone for Machi. They can still convert kills with these available, and in fact, they kind of need to. Sound Barrier is gonna come out here for Chaos Theory. D-Crown not quite getting the bump into the traffic, now likely to start getting pressured out. Judo booking it back in on the Soldier to pump in extra damage. They've got a good angle on Disc Train. Zest can stall, and he's gonna need to. They have killed D-Crown, but
somebody
they're
help
forcing
Judo
Judo back. No one can help him. He's all alone out here, and that puts him way away from the point. That means essentially the presence from Machi on the point itself is so reduced. Shui's down, Kiyomi's dead. Savior getting killed is not enough to turn things back around here for Machi. Chaos Theory should stay in control of this one, while Zest still has that Primal Rage running. Ambition as well, killing off Judo. Chaos Theory should be able to take it.
And that's going to be the 100 to 84, and it ends up being Chaos Theory off the back of both Pharmacy and also then Ambition changing onto a Genji reasonably late, but still managing to secure that point over. Now the problem for Machi is there are potentially 2 more maps within Oasis, and one of them also includes another Pharah map. How will Machi deal with that? If we go to University, they can breathe a sigh of relief and at least want him to deal with it now. But if they go to Gardens, it could be a 2-0.
And I mean, here's the thing. Having Judo on the McCree as a counter only worked the one time. He only actually killed Ambition the once, and Ambition did get rezzed immediately after that. There was a fight that Machi won, so maybe that's all they need. But they need a lot more than just the one fight win as well. So, again, how do they handle Ambition here? So far, Shui on the Pharah hasn't worked.
But at the same time, on Sanctum, it did work. It worked for a reasonable amount of time. They need to get back into what was working on Sanctum and utilize it once again onto Gardens, because this does look like, once again, a Chaos Theory favored map.
Speaking of chaos, this is a very messy opening fight, but it's Machi with the superior positioning, already taking Xavier off the table. They do get a good trade back here by popping D-Crown, but they've lost Zest in their own right. It's unlikely that Chaos Theory can really do too much in this fight. Yeah, as well, Ambition getting pressured out. He was going to have to be the linchpin there. He was able to get a bunch of damage that could have stabilized, but that went the way of Machi pretty much from the start.
We're going to see a pretty early pulse bomb now coming out of Kent as well, looking for options to snowball this defense, looking for options to swing the fight into their favor. Now going up the percentage points for Machi Esports. For Chaos Theory, they need to find openings too.
Still, hey, that's an opening. Yeah, that is a very big opening. That's also Ambition well ahead on the Rocket Barrage charge as well. Good stick from Kant, though, take Zest out of the fight. And the follow-up on Xavier means that opening may have not been enough. The res is going to come in as well. At the same time as they pop Deco. Oh, wow. Shui immediately answers it back on Ambition. That's the stabilization again for Machi.
This is it. Even though you managed to kill one member on the Machi side, Kant responds in kind. The Ambition drives it home. Now we're starting to look at 40% for Machi. Now we're starting to look at 3, coming up to 4 ultimates for Machi and Chaos Theory. Still waiting for number 1.
This is kind of a tough spot, really, for both teams. Machi insofar as they have to win this, and then the next one, just in general, Chaos Theory, and that now that they're behind the 8 ball, struggling to get back in front here on Gardens. Now,
gotta get the res.
Yeah, GNX going down. They can't really get the res in. They're finally going to go ahead and commit. That's just lost a lot more time.
Losing an ultimate, not an ultimate, but an ability anyway, and Chaos Theory, we're going to have to hope they don't have to use it. Really gets the double air shot.
Fraction of a hair, right? That's the sound barrier out from Jokebot to cue the fight. Chaos Theory want to commit off that. Kant goes down despite the sound barrier. Chaos Theory, they should be able to get some legs in this fight, should be able to get some work done. Rez does come in onto Kant, and Chaos Theory haven't really got the big kills in just yet. Machi know they can eventually re-enter with a lot more tools, especially now as Jokebot is dead. Xavier, Valkyrie running, able to just barely stay alive. They picked Restia, though. They're keeping the pressure on Xavier here, Machi. And that means Chaos Theory, they don't have much room to breathe. Ambition popping out the Rocket Barrage.
Dangerous barrage.
Dies in the skies. And now Shui's got his own to close out this fight at 99%. Might not even need it. Is going to commit onto the tanks. He does get answered back by the likes of this train. Chaos Theory only barely getting that one.
That was nearly not a victory for Chaos Theory either. Ambition had to take such a dangerous Rocket Barrage, easily trading his own life, but even Shui at the end there couldn't turn around inside, or decided not to turn around in time to save his own life. It didn't matter though. Machi Esports didn't have enough legs to finish off that fight. Chaos Theory, as was previously mentioned, barely make it on through, but now they've got a lot of catch up to do.
They're again just keeping the pressure on Xavier. They've realized if they could take him out of the picture quickly, they're able to take out Ambition soon after, but it's Zest that drops first. Trade backs coming in. This trade needs to get a big convert here. He's got D-Crown. That should well be enough to stabilize, but again, Machi are going to fight this one to the last here. That should be the closeout, though, with Judo out of the picture. Machi don't have the tanks for this, and the res can come in onto Jokebot. Chaos Theory holds.
Machi got a little bit of time to play with, though. They got reasonably about 2, maybe 2.5 fights if we go into the overtime for Chaos Theory, but that's danger. That's dangerous because Machi are playing against a team that is now absolutely at match point, 1 up on Oasis. Chaos Theory win this, they get the whole series.
I mean, it may be 99%, but you're right. It's essentially Machi with their backs up against the wall. They're the ones who actually get the entry in here. Chaos Theory, I mean, it's doable. It's not just a given, right? But it's the pressure on Machi. Judo, he's going to have to commit a self-destruct. It already has. Shui's dead, though. He's going to get Rez back in. They will be able to... No, not quite. Zest barely staying alive. They're going so hard at keeping him topped off. Xavier popping the Valkyrie as soon as he has it. And they're keeping the pressure on to these members. Kant's down. GNX really pulling his weight here. They have closed out on Zest, but this pressure Shui out of the air. They get to Rez Zest anyway.
Down.
Yeah, Ambition's able to catch him. He was stuck in a corner to avoid the self-destruct, and that means this is a desperation sound barrier. Ambition not going to get killed by his own Rocket Barrage. It's not what Judo was
3 seconds.
Yeah, it's not going to be the same thing. 2 seconds, 1 second, overtime now. Machi flooding onto the point with what little they have left. It is not a flood, in fact, it is a trickle. It is droplets. Shui, Rocket Barrage for nothing. They have done it!
It's going to be Chaos Theory, 3-2. They managed to take down Gale. They managed to take down Machi, rather. Wow, that is an insane comeback. When it looked like it was all done, when it looked like after Horizon Lunar Colony, this is all but done. Machi Esports, the better team. You get to Oasis, you get to Junkertown. It's Chaos Theory proving that they are the better team.
And I mean, that wasn't even as close as Nepal had been. You can call that last one 99-99, sure, but the first one was way more one-sided. And it's not like Machi even won a single point on Oasis at the very end there. That was Chaos Theory being better on both Control, also being better on Junkertown. And that's to say nothing of how competitive the other two maps were as well. But ultimately, across this series, when it's counted, Chaos Theory executed more often than Machi did. That's going to amount to the win, and that is, on the side of Machi, an earth-shattering defeat to suffer to a team about to be relegated just as you begin your playoffs run.
And that is going to be the sweetest handshake of the season for the team, as well as they managed to walk through the Machi playing area, collect that victory. And a couple of weeks ago, when Chaos Theory had not even won a single map and they were losing yet again, finishing week 3 0-12, they said, we need to stop seeing the Chaos Theory. We need to see the Chaos Practical. That's what that looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, out of the lab into the field. That's what that is right there. I mean, that was phenomenal. That's a team I wish had been here 5 weeks ago, because I think that's a team that would have been in that top 4 instead of in that bottom 2, which is kind of the bittersweetness of that victory here for Chaos Theory. But I think it's a bittersweetness that is more sweet than it is bitter. This is something that they can now take as a big confidence booster. You know, they can pop that pill, and now they go into trials, I think, feeling like they could well be one of the strongest teams in it. That is to say nothing of the potential competition there, and we definitely cannot speak too soon. But if that's how they look now, if they were able to beat one of the longest standing members of the Pacific Circuit at this level in their final performance, and that's to say nothing of last week's showing against Bazaar, Chaos Theory, if they can be beating teams in Contenders, you'd certainly believe they can beat teams in Trials. And
now you got to speak to the other side of the coin as well. For Machi, they will progress on through to the playoffs. They will make that top 8 quarterfinal. They will even do so as the number 3 team in the Group A, but they do so with an extra loss that blemishes their record overall this season. And unfortunately, they do so, like you mentioned, versus a team that has already been relegated. You could see there in that series, Junkertown, I think, was the swing point. That was the map that Machi really needed to win. That was, I would say, even a reasonably winnable map for Machi. But Chaos Theory just steamrolling their way through to victory there, then going on to a map where I think they were pretty much favored on that map. Anyway, Oasis, much like Nepal, you do see the fire come out. Machi did not have a response to Ambition, and that's how they won that. So at the end of the day, I think Machi did have the win within their sights. It was within reach, but they could not grab it.
And Machi have a lot to work on in this next week. They do at least have a week. That is the saving grace here for this team, but it is a lot. And they come up against Mega as well, a team that have, in their own right, had some extremely competitive performances against what has ended up being the first place finisher of that group. And Machi, I mean, they had a rocky road at the start of the season that then started to stabilize. They're looking good. They're looking like they're returning a little bit to their heights of days past, but suffering that defeat right at the 11th hour before you go into playoffs, they have to mentally reset. They are a good team. They have the fortitude to do that. But they have to do it. There is no other option.
And this was almost a roster where we're coming in saying, okay, well, you could probably run right here. That might do you guys some good. I mean, this match for you, as you beat Machi in this case,
give him a whirl.
You're probably favored to win. Try some things out, see how he runs, and we did see Rai pop his head up in that graphic in the team roster, but it was Shui that came in at the end of the day, and I want to say even though Shui came in, even though they ran their A roster, which is only the 6 members that don't include Rai in this case, that was still ultimately not enough.
And that's the scary thing as well. It's not like Machi have something else in the back pocket still going into playoffs. That was Machi. That's, at least today, how good they can play. And I would say we haven't really seen many performances that have been a whole lot better than that. I would maybe put a little asterisk beside that to refer back to the Machi Hong Kong Attitude series. But again, that was a series that Machi did end up losing. So again, look, you're already the 3rd place seed. That's not great. It's not terrible. But you've got a tough matchup, and you just lost to the team that finished the regular season 5th. That's 2 below you. That's to say nothing by the way of Talon, who are probably wiping their brows like, man, thank goodness Chaos Theory didn't start playing like that 3 weeks ago, or they probably would have not quite made it in. In fact, there was a real shot here for Talon to not quite make it through, or at least for Machi to get bumped down another spot. Luckily, that doesn't end up coming to pass, but this is still dire straits, I think, for Machi.
I think it definitely hurts, and at the same time, I think you bring up Talon's interesting because Talon would have definitely been, rooting for Chaos Theory to take the victory here. There was a potential that if Talon had a better matchup against Hong Kong Attitude and got a better map score there, and then Chaos Theory have a slightly better map score against Machi in this series, Talon actually finishes third and Machi finishes fourth, so it was nearly there.
And that's the thing as well for Talon, while we're here, while we're down this avenue, we may as well add this extra to that, being they didn't have that better performance they needed against Hong Kong Attitude, and that means they do end up finishing fourth instead of third. And again, like I say, you're looking at this team now, Chaos Theory, going, thank goodness they didn't start playing like that a number of weeks ago. But here's the thing. Right now, you're Talon Esports. You do get to go into playoffs. Who knows how far you'll go? Maybe it won't be very far at all. Maybe you'll even start tickling finals. You never know, right, when these things come to pass. But the one thing that stands to be true, you are terrified of Chaos Theory if you see them in Season 2. That is a team that is going to put you in 5th instead of them. That is a team that is going to be out for blood if they ever come across you again.
And, fair aside, whether it's fair or not, you certainly respect them. That at least you will have.
Sure.
You're not going to take this team very lightly, so very happy to see how Chaos Theory will progress on in the second season. And with that, I mean, we finished up with Chaos Theory. That's the last time we will be seeing them, at least for the season. The next time we'll be seeing them is if they will decide to play into trials. Again, you have to also want to play in trials to come back to Season 2.
I mean, I hope they do. I mean, really, because you can't suddenly start playing like that, and then not follow up on that, because this is a team with a future. This is a team with a ceiling that is so far above even what they can see right now when they look up. I want to see this team come back, even just for more great matches like that, if nothing else. And what a send-off as well.
And the other thing is, they came into the season as the only representative from Singapore, which is a new team at this professional level in Pacific. And at the start, I mean, 3 weeks in, we're like, well, this is a little bit tricky. Right now, though, they're going to be feeling good. Let's go ahead to the post-match interview with GNX, who must also be feeling pretty good.
Hi, GNX. Hi.
I是 GNX from Chaos Theory.
So I'm GNX from Chaos Theory.
那我要问你几个问题。第一个问题呢是闪光的脉冲炸弹由最高400滴血到300滴，那这会不会影响到你们出闪光的意愿呢
？The first question is the next page. The tracer's ultimate highest damage for 400 damage to nerf to 300 damage. Is it possible to still pick in your team or no?
I think after the next patch, Tracer will still be a good pick because I think this nerf is mainly aimed at OWL, where Tracers tend to pulse the tanks a lot. But I think this won't really affect her pick rate that much as she's still very useful in dive. And maybe it might just force Tracers to have to pulse supports more often, which I think is fine either way. For me personally, I like to pulse supports anyway, so I don't think I will see a change in playstyle for myself personally.
主要是这件事表示说，对他来说并不影响他主要的选择啦，因为这个在他的 Ultimate 的这个伤害，大家觉得伤害哦，那这不影响这吹着在不管是深入敌营或是制造伤害的过程中，并不影响他的站位，所以在这个核心上应该是不会改动的。
好的，那我们下一个问题呢是下一版的话 ，B 机上线了，那有没有想过在比赛中出它呢
？The second question is the bridge will be coming to the next page. Is it possible to affect your team to pick it in your team, or the new meta will be picked or not?
We're not too sure about how Brigitte will fit into the current meta. We do have a very avid Brigitte player, Xavier, so we'll have to see how she fits in the meta. I mean, she does counter dive quite a lot, so she has a chance of changing the meta from dive to something else. But we have to see after playing with her more often to see how she fits in the meta.
刚刚那个在 Renes 提到，其实他有提到说他刚才台下有提到说他在可能跟麦卡利以及76的搭配上是不错的，那他有可能会因此改动现在的 meta， 所以其实他们还在观察中是不是要加入队伍。
哦，原来如此，要再观察一下。那第三个问题，也就是最后一个问题是，这几个礼拜在台湾这样的生活有没有特别或是有趣的事情呢
？The third question is in this season in Taiwan, is something interesting in Taiwan or something fun you remember it yet?
There hasn't really been many interesting things, but I will have to say that I was very surprised when I came to Taiwan that their metro system is actually very efficient and convenient. It's a lot like Singapore's metro system, so that's like the main thing that I really enjoy about Taiwan.
那个现在表示呢，在台湾，他觉得台湾的这个捷运系统以及在新加坡捷运系统都非常的棒。那他的感觉台湾这边是非常非常好的。那我觉得这就是为数不多的，应该说就是感觉特别好玩的地方啦。
好，原来如此，捷运系统。那我们再次谢谢我们的 GX。那我先进一段广告，然后精彩的话赛事马上就回来，谢谢，拜拜。
And there it is, GNX, the winner. Congratulations to him and Carroll, and shout-outs to the Taiwanese metro system. But with that, we're going to wrap up Chaos Theory and Machi. Their season, their regular season rather, has finished, but we still have 2 more matches still to go. So when you come back, those will continue. We'll see you after the break.